Hi ladies. Ever walked into a first date and, within the first 5 minutes, thought, wow, I really like him, but does he feel the same? Your mind races. Am I saying the right things? Does my laugh sound weird? Is he into this? Now imagine having a secret list, not of rules, but of subtle, powerful moves, to leave him thinking about you long after the check is paid. Not manipulation, not games. Just a little magic, rooted in confidence, presence, and charm. Here are 10 ways to make him fall for you on a date, or at the very least, leave a lasting impression he won't be able to shake. Eyes that speak plus a hint of mystery. Eye contact isn't just about looking at someone, it's about seeing and being seen. On a date, your eyes become your voice long before your words do. Think of them as messengers carrying your mood, your curiosity, and even your attraction. When you hold his gaze, not in a confrontational or intense way, but with softness and steadiness, you invite connection. You create a moment where the rest of the world fades, and it's just the two of you. That kind of moment is rare, and rare things are memorable. But here's where the magic happens. Balance that intimacy with a touch of elusiveness. You don't want to be an open book on page 1. Instead, be like a novel with just enough revealed to make him turn the next page. If he asks about your childhood, don't launch into a biography. Share a little, maybe a story that shaped you, or something quirky, then gently steer the conversation back to him. People feel most connected when they feel heard. Let him talk, and as he opens up, you'll seem even more compelling. Because you're listening deeply, while keeping your own story beautifully layered and incomplete. Mystery isn't about playing games, it's about pacing. It's about allowing discovery to unfold naturally. There's power in not giving everything away on the first date. A woman who carries herself with quiet confidence and just the right amount of enigma doesn't need to overshare to be engaging. She becomes someone worth discovering. Your goal isn't to impress him with every detail of your life. It's to create a space where both of you feel something brewing, something unfinished, something that pulls him back in for date number 2. When you look at him, really look, don't just assess. Invite. Allow your gaze to linger for a beat when something he says genuinely moves you. Let your eyes reflect joy, curiosity, warmth, and when needed, playfulness. And then, look away. Not abruptly, but intentionally. The break in eye contact becomes just as meaningful. It's a silent dance. Approach, connect, retreat. The mystery lives in the rhythm. What's remembered most after a date isn't the menu or the setting. It's that feeling, that electric moment when your eyes met and everything else went quiet. Give him that, and he'll replay it in his head long after the night ends. Laugh like you mean it. Genuine laughter is the purest form of human connection. It transcends small talk, diffuses tension, and turns strangers into something more. When you laugh, really laugh, you tell the person across from you, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying you, and that feeling is addictive. Most men, even the confident ones, walk into a date hoping to feel admired. They want to be liked, not just for how they look or what they do, but for who they are. And humor is often the doorway they choose to walk through. So when he tells a joke, or shares a story he thinks is funny, he's not just trying to be charming, he's testing connection. And your response? That's the green light. If you meet his humor with warmth and genuine amusement, he feels seen, encouraged, validated. He'll relax into his true self, and the walls come down. But here's the nuance. You're not there to be an audience. You're there to co-create a moment. That means your laughter shouldn't be forced or exaggerated. Don't chuckle just to fill silence or flatter. Instead, find humor in the rhythm of the moment. Let yourself be amused by his awkward honesty, or the way he tells a story with too many details. Laugh at the absurdity of the date itself, the playlist in the background, the waiter's overly dramatic wine presentation, the way the dessert is served like a science experiment. Also, don't be afraid to bring your own humor into the mix. Talk about the ridiculous thing that happened to you that morning. Poke fun at yourself lightly. Laugh at your own laugh if it surprises you. When you make space for shared humor, you build intimacy faster than with any serious monologue. And shared laughter creates tiny emotional anchors. When he's driving home that night, what he'll remember most isn't your resume. it's that second when both of you couldn't stop laughing over the same silly thing. That's the gold. Science backs this up too. Studies show that people who laugh together experience faster bonding. It releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical that tells your brain, this person makes me happy. I want more. So, in a way, laughter is nature's first step toward attraction. Ultimately, your laugh, the real one, not the polite one, becomes your signature. If he made you laugh, he'll feel good about himself. If you made him laugh, he'll feel good about you. But if you both laughed together, that's where stories begin. So go ahead, let it out, be joyful, be light. The world is heavy enough, your date doesn't have to be. Your laughter might just be the one thing he remembers long after he forgets what tie he wore or what drink you ordered. Really listen, really. There's listening to respond, and then there's listening to connect. Most people, without realizing it, are doing the former. They're nodding, smiling, waiting for their turn to speak or crafting a witty reply in their heads before the other person even finishes talking. But when you truly listen, when you set your own inner dialogue aside and give someone your full, uninterrupted attention, you instantly set yourself apart. Real listening is a form of emotional generosity. It requires presence. It says, in this moment, what you're saying matters more than anything else. And trust me, he'll feel it. It's in the way you lean forward just slightly when he's talking, in how your eyes stay focused on him, not drifting to your phone, the waiter, or the couple at the next table. It's in how you mirror his expressions without even realizing it, nodding slightly when he makes a point, raising an eyebrow when he says something unexpected. The power lies in the details. When he tells you about his favorite childhood memory, don't just smile and move on. Ask him what he remembers most, what he felt. When he mentions a work project he's excited about, ask why it matters to him, not just what he's doing, but why he cares. These aren't interrogations, they're invitations. They show you're not just interested in the surface, you want to know the layers. And that feeling, that someone wants to understand you, that's rare, that's intimacy in disguise. Even more importantly, respond to what lights him up. If his tone changes when he talks about travel, music, or the time he learned to fix something himself, go there. Let that be the current you follow. Because where there's passion, there's personality. And if he feels he can share that with you freely, you're no longer a date, you're a safe space. And let's talk about the phone for a second. Silence it, flip it face down, better yet, tuck it away. Nothing kills connection faster than a glowing screen between two people. The message you send when your phone stays out of sight is, I'm here. Fully. It's such a small move, but in a world addicted to distraction, it's bold and refreshing. It's also incredibly attractive. If he talks about something you don't know much about, a sport, a sci-fi show, a tech gadget, don't pretend. Be curious. Say, I've never really gotten into that. What do you like about it? Now you're not faking connection, you're building it. You're opening a door into his world, not trying to squeeze into it uninvited. And finally, allow for quiet moments. Listening doesn't mean filling every pause. It's okay to let a little silence breathe between you. Sometimes the most meaningful responses are not words, but presence. A knowing smile, a look that says, I hear you. That's where comfort begins. On a first date, being a good listener isn't just about gathering information, it's about establishing trust. It's how you create chemistry without needing fireworks. Because when a man walks away from an evening feeling heard, understood, and emotionally seen, he doesn't just remember the conversation. He remembers you. Gentle touches, genuine sparks. Touch is one of the most primal, immediate ways we communicate affection, interest, and comfort, all without saying a single word. It's nonverbal, instinctive, and incredibly powerful when done with authenticity. A single well-placed touch can ignite chemistry faster than a compliment or a clever story ever could. But here's the catch, it has to feel natural, organic, unscripted. Think of touch on a first date as a quiet whisper, not a shout. It's not about intensity, it's about intention. A gentle touch on his forearm when you're laughing, a quick tap on his hand when you agree with something he said, a soft brush of your shoulder against his as you lean in to hear better. These are the moments that say, I'm comfortable with you. I feel good near you. They're tiny, fleeting signals, but they trigger something deep in the brain. They say, this is safe. This is warm. This could be something. Now, timing matters. The first touch should always be situational, not strategic. Don't reach out just to manufacture chemistry. Let the moment invite it. Maybe he holds the door and you thank him with a light hand on his back as you pass through. Or you're both laughing at something ridiculous, and your hand briefly meets his arm without even thinking. These spontaneous gestures often speak louder than rehearsed charm. What makes a touch meaningful isn't where it happens, but why. When it's genuine, when it flows out of the moment instead of being calculated, it lands differently. And people can tell the difference. Forced touch feels invasive, natural touch feels electric. Pay attention to his body language too. If he leans in when you do, if he mirrors your movements, if his posture stays open, that's his way of saying, I'm in this too. If you sense hesitation or closed-off signals, pull back. Respect isn't just sexy, it's necessary for trust. Also, your own comfort matters just as much. You should never feel like you have to touch someone to maintain interest. The most magnetic energy comes from you being completely at ease in your own body. When you're relaxed, present, and feeling good, that energy radiates, and any touch that comes from that place will feel natural, not performative. And don't underestimate proximity. Sometimes the most charged touch is just sitting close enough for your knees to almost graze. It's the quiet potential of contact, that maybe you'll brush against each other as you both lean toward the dessert menu. That space between you becomes a current, one that hums with possibility. In the end, gentle, authentic touch is not about sending a message that says, I want you. It's about creating a moment that says, I'm here with you. It builds connection from the outside in. And often, it's those tiny, unconscious touches, the ones you barely remember making, that he'll remember the most. Because long after the date is over, he might forget the exact words you said. But he'll remember the way it felt to be near you, the warmth of your presence, the ease in your gestures, and that quiet spark in the places your fingers met. Confidence without the ego. There's a quiet, undeniable power in a woman who doesn't need to prove herself. She walks into a room without the need to dominate it, yet somehow, all eyes still find her. Why? Because she's grounded, comfortable in her skin. She doesn't try to impress, she is the impression. And that kind of confidence? It's magnetic. True confidence isn't loud, it doesn't boast, it doesn't name drop or compete. It's in how you carry yourself, how you speak about your life, how you make decisions without apologizing for them. On a date, this shows up in small but impactful ways. You don't nervously explain your career path, you speak about it with pride, even if it's still evolving. You talk about the things that light you up, whether it's your yoga practice, your obsession with vintage bookstores, or the business idea you've been sketching out on napkins. You let your passions speak for themselves. When a woman shares what drives her without trying to justify it, she becomes instantly more interesting. You're not waiting for him to approve of your choices, you're inviting him into your world to witness them. That energy is irresistible. It says, I already like who I am. I'm not here to be chosen, I'm here to connect. And that shift in energy changes the entire dynamic of the date. Ego, on the other hand, tries to fill space. It seeks applause. Confidence holds space. It listens. It observes. It doesn't need to win every point in a debate or steer the entire conversation. Confident women know when to speak and when to simply be. And when you speak, your words are rooted in something real, not in performance but in presence. This also means embracing your imperfections without shame. You're not perfect, no one is. Maybe you still have questions about your future, or you're figuring things out, or you make a mess of your kitchen every time you try to cook something new. Own it, laugh about it. Confidence says, I can hold all parts of myself, the polished and the messy, and still know I'm worthy. That kind of self-acceptance gives him permission to do the same. And vulnerability, when paired with inner strength, is where real intimacy begins. There's also power in saying no with ease. If he suggests something you're not comfortable with, whether it's a drink you don't want or a topic you're not ready to dive into, you don't need to over-explain. A simple, confident, "I'll pass on that," or "let's talk about something else," is enough. A woman who sets boundaries without drama shows that she knows her value, and protects it. And let's be real, confidence is sexy because it's rare. In a world that constantly tells women to question their worth, to shrink, to please, to second guess, a woman who refuses to do that. She's unforgettable. She's not chasing validation. She is the standard. She doesn't need to prove her worth. She lives it, breathes it, owns it. So the next time you walk into a date, remind yourself, you're not there to be evaluated. You're there to share your light, your story, your truth, and if he's the right one, he'll recognize the quiet fire in you, the kind that doesn't burn for attention, but burns from within. Because real confidence isn't about making others see your value. It's about never forgetting it yourself. Speak in we, not just me or you. Words are powerful, not just in what they mean, but in how they make people feel. The difference between me, you, and we is subtle in grammar, but monumental in emotional impact. One creates separation, the other creates connection, and on a date, connection is everything. When you shift your language from I and you to we, something magic happens. You subtly invite him to imagine a future, not just for himself or for you, but together. It's not about being forward or overly romantic. It's about creating a playful, shared vision in the moment. It might sound like, if we ever got lost in a city, I feel like we'd either panic or have the best story ever. Or, can you imagine us trying to survive on a cooking show together? These aren't commitments, they're micro-fantasies, light, fun, and full of possibility. Using we changes the emotional tone of the date. It shifts the dynamic from two strangers evaluating each other to two co-conspirators discovering something side by side. You're not just telling him about your life, you're drawing him into a narrative that includes him. It sparks imagination. Suddenly, he's not just learning about your favorite vacation spot, he's picturing what it'd be like to go there with you. That changes everything. But the trick is in keeping it organic. You're not pitching a relationship, you're creating chemistry. We should always feel playful and hypothetical, never heavy-handed or needy. You're not saying, let's move in together. You're saying, can you imagine us trying to assemble IKEA furniture without one of us quitting halfway? It's storytelling, and you're casting both of you as the leads. And it's not just about the future. Even in the moment, we creates unity. We picked the best table here. We're totally winning this date right now. These small phrases subtly reinforce that the two of you are sharing something, an experience, a vibe, a spark. It builds momentum, it fosters familiarity, and it makes the date feel less like an interview, more like an adventure. There's also a subtle psychological effect at play. When you use we language, it nudges his brain to associate you with closeness. Studies in interpersonal psychology show that shared language patterns, especially inclusive ones, increase perceived intimacy. In short, he won't even realize you're planting the idea of connection, but he'll feel it. At the same time, we language shows emotional intelligence. It communicates collaboration, openness, warmth. It says, I'm not just here to talk about myself or analyze you. I'm open to what we might create together, even if it's just a really good story from tonight. Ultimately, speaking in we is an act of generosity. It says, I see the potential for something here, and I'm willing to explore it with you, just a little. It doesn't pressure, it invites. It doesn't define the future. It sketches it in soft pencil. And sometimes, all it takes is one casual we to spark the thought in his mind that maybe, just maybe, this isn't just a date. Maybe it's the beginning of something worth imagining. Let your scent be your signature. Scent is one of the most powerful and underrated tools of attraction, more primal, more emotional, and more enduring than almost anything else. It bypasses logic entirely and goes straight to memory. You can hear a song and forget it in a week. You can see someone's face and forget it in a month. But scent lingers. It stays tucked away in the subconscious, ready to trigger vivid recall at the slightest whiff. It's why the smell of fresh coffee can transport you back to a cozy childhood morning, or why passing someone wearing a familiar perfume can stop you in your tracks. On a date, your fragrance does something that even your words can't. It creates atmosphere. It tells a story about you without you having to speak. It sets a tone, a feeling, a presence. And when it's intentional, it can be unforgettable. But the key isn't just to smell good. The key is to smell like you. Find a fragrance that aligns with your essence, not trendy, not overpowering, not something you grabbed on sale last week. It should feel like an extension of your personality. Maybe it's warm and soft, like vanilla and amber. Maybe it's crisp and fresh, like citrus and clean musk. Or maybe it's bold and complex, with layers that unfold as the night goes on. Wearing a signature scent consistently creates a sensory imprint. The more you wear it, the more it becomes associated with your presence, your laughter, your voice, the way you touched your hair or tilted your head during a smile. Over time, that scent becomes you in someone else's memory. So when he's walking down a street weeks later and someone passes by wearing something even vaguely similar, you'll resurface, uninvited, unannounced, and completely unforgettable. That's chemistry without conversation. That's presence without proximity. And don't underestimate the intimacy of scent. It's often the last thing someone notices, once the conversation quiets, once the initial excitement settles. Maybe it's when you lean in to say something softly, or when you reach for your drink and your wrist brushes past his space. That gentle trail of scent lingers in the air, drawing attention without demanding it. It's subtle, but it creates closeness. A woman who smells amazing doesn't need to say, "Come closer." Her fragrance does it for her. But this is also about intentionality. Choose a scent that reflects the mood you want to create. Romantic? Go floral and powdery. Confident? Try woody or spicy. Bright and playful? Citrus or light fruity notes. The point isn't to overwhelm, it's to leave a trace. A whisper, not a shout. And here's the real beauty. Long after the date is over, long after you've said goodbye, your scent might still be on his clothes, on his jacket, in his car, and in those quiet, unexpected moments, when he catches the faintest trace of you, his memory will fill in the rest. The laugh, the spark, the way it felt sitting across from you, that's not just a fragrance. That's a time capsule. So, don't underestimate your signature scent. Find it, wear it, let it do the talking when the night goes quiet. Because sometimes the most unforgettable part of the evening is the one he never even sees. It's the scent that stays long after the lights go out. Compliment his brain, not just his button down. Let's face it, he probably put some effort into his appearance. He picked that shirt intentionally, maybe double-checked his shoes, and stood in the mirror wondering if his cologne was too much or not enough. And sure, if he looks good, say so. Everyone likes to feel attractive. But don't stop there, because while style is surface, substance is what leaves an imprint. When you compliment the way a man thinks, something lights up in him. You're not just noticing the polished exterior, you're seeing the gears turning underneath. You're recognizing the architecture of his mind, and that's rare. We live in a world where surface-level compliments are handed out like candy, but someone who acknowledges intellect, curiosity, or creativity, that's something he won't forget. Let it be organic. If he shares an opinion you admire, say, "That's such a thoughtful way to look at it. I never would have seen it that way." If he tells you about a passion project or an idea he's developing, respond with genuine curiosity. "That's brilliant. What inspired you to start that?" Not flattery, not false praise, just real recognition of the fire behind his words. And it's not about complimenting him for the sake of making him feel good. It's about calling attention to what's real. If he's articulate, acknowledge it. If he's curious about the world, tell him it's refreshing. If he lights up when talking about something he loves, notice that light and name it. A simple, "You really light up when you talk about that. I love seeing that kind of passion," goes far deeper than, "You have great eyes." Because here's the truth. Men, especially thoughtful, emotionally intelligent men, crave being seen just as much as women do. But they're not often given that space. Compliments about intelligence, depth, or character are less common, and when they come from someone they're attracted to, they're powerful. They validate not just the man he's presenting, but the man he is. This kind of compliment also sparks better conversation. It opens the door to talk about dreams, values, creativity, and purpose. Suddenly, your date isn't just small talk and appetizers, it's an exchange of ideas. A discovery of inner worlds. That's where real connection starts. Even more, it flips the script. It makes you memorable. You're not like everyone else who commented on his watch or said, "You're tall." You're the one who noticed how his mind works, how he sees the world. You made him feel interesting. That's not just appealing, that's addictive. So, yes, notice the button down if you like it. But then look closer, listen harder, compliment the thing most people overlook. That spark in his eyes when he's talking about something that matters. That thoughtful pause before he answers. That dry wit, or that unexpected insight. That's what lingers. Because long after he's taken off the shirt, long after he's folded it away and gone on with life, he'll remember the woman who looked past it. The one who didn't just compliment the packaging, but saw the story inside. Smile with your eyes. There's a world of difference between a smile that's polite and one that radiates genuine warmth. The polite smile, the kind we give to strangers in passing or servers at a restaurant, is surface level. It's courteous, expected. It's the smile that says, "I'm being nice." And while there's nothing wrong with being nice, that kind of smile rarely lingers in someone's memory. But a smile that reaches your eyes, one that lights up your entire face and says, "I'm truly enjoying this moment with you," that's unforgettable. Smiling with your eyes, also known as a Duchenne smile, is rooted in authenticity. You can't fake it. It's not just about curling your lips upward. It's about letting your entire emotional energy shift into a space of genuine joy. Your cheeks lift, your eyes narrow ever so slightly, your whole face softens. It's the smile you give when something actually delights you, when you're fully present, when you're not thinking about the next thing you're going to say or whether your hair is sitting perfectly. It's instinctive, honest, and magnetic. On a date, this kind of smile becomes your silent superpower. It shows that you're engaged, open, and emotionally connected. When he tells a story that genuinely makes you laugh, don't hold back. Let your expression mirror what you feel. Let that twinkle in your eyes do half the talking. It makes you more approachable. It creates intimacy. And most importantly, it signals to him, "I feel good around you." You don't have to be laughing the entire evening. In fact, quieter moments, when the conversation dips into something deeper, more meaningful, can be just as powerful. A soft, steady smile paired with warm eye contact during these moments communicates safety, trust, and a kind of emotional closeness that no grand gesture can replicate. It's the look that says, "I see you. And I like what I see." This doesn't mean forcing a grin when you're not feeling it. Authenticity is key. If something doesn't amuse you, you don't need to perform joy. But find opportunities to lean into the real emotions of the evening. Let yourself feel the fun, the awkwardness, the connection. Let those feelings live on your face, not just in your words. Your date will feel that. He may not even consciously understand what's happening, but he'll be drawn to it. People remember how others made them feel. And so often, that memory is tied to facial expression, the warmth in someone's eyes, the ease in their body language, the simple, unspoken delight of being in someone's presence. When you smile with your whole face, your whole heart, it creates a sense of belonging. A sense of, "This moment is good. Let's stay here a little longer." So, the next time you catch yourself holding back or keeping it cool, pause. Relax your shoulders, lean in a little, and smile with your eyes. Because that's the smile he'll replay in his head long after the night is over. That's the moment he'll try to describe to a friend when they ask how the date went. That's the image he'll carry, and maybe, just maybe, the one he'll chase back to you. Leave him wanting just a little more. There's an art to knowing when to end a great night. Too often, people try to stretch a date beyond its natural rhythm, thinking that longer equals better. But here's the truth, timing is everything. When you exit while the energy is still vibrant, while the laughter is still fresh, the conversation still flowing, the chemistry still humming, you leave him with a taste that lingers. You leave him craving the next encounter. This doesn't mean playing games or pulling away abruptly. It means being emotionally intuitive, feeling the pulse of the evening and knowing when it's reached its sweetest peak. When you say your goodbye not because the vibe has died, but because it's just strong enough that he doesn't want it to end, that's powerful. That's a move he'll remember. Leaving a little early adds a touch of mystery. It disrupts expectation in the best possible way. Most people, when they're enjoying themselves, will drag the evening out, waiting for a cue to wrap it up. But when you take the lead, when you decide to go while everything's still in motion, you flip the script. You become the one who's not chasing the moment, but curating it. You leave on your own terms, with elegance and confidence. That shift in dynamic is subtle but electric. He won't interpret it as disinterest, quite the opposite. It's an unspoken signal that your time is valuable, that you know how to enjoy the moment without clinging to it. It says, I had a great time, and I don't need to stretch this out to prove it. That kind of self-possession is incredibly attractive. And let's talk about the psychological effect. Humans are wired to crave closure. When a beautiful experience ends just before the expected point, the brain scrambles to complete the emotional loop, which often leads to reaching out, texting, planning the next encounter. He won't be able to help himself. He'll replay the date in his mind, the laughter, the glances, the connection, wondering what more could have unfolded. And that curiosity, that unfinished feeling, it's exactly what makes him want to see you again. You don't need to drop a dramatic exit line. A soft, confident, "This has been really fun, I should head out while I'm still smiling," can do the trick. Add a wink, a light touch, or just a warm look that says, "This isn't goodbye, it's just the end of chapter 1." Leaving him wanting more isn't about being elusive or hard to get. It's about creating a moment so enjoyable, so full of connection and spark, that ending it gracefully only amplifies its impact. It's about trusting that you don't have to give everything away all at once. That a little mystery, a little restraint, is often what leaves the deepest impression. So when the night's winding down and it feels tempting to let it stretch into forever, resist. Exit on a high. Leave him smiling, a little breathless, a little enchanted. Because the best stories aren't always the longest, they're the ones that leave you turning the page, hungry for what happens next. Final thought? Being irresistible has nothing to do with flawless makeup, a perfect outfit, or saying all the right things at exactly the right time. It's not a performance. It's not a checklist of clever moves or scripted charm. True magnetism, the kind that draws people in and stays with them long after you've left the room, comes from something deeper. Something simpler. It comes from being real. When you walk into a date already anchored in your own worth, you're not there to be chosen. You're not nervously evaluating yourself in his eyes, hoping you pass some unspoken test. You're showing up as a woman who already knows she's valuable, not because someone else said so, but because she's done the work to believe it herself. That belief isn't loud or boastful. It's quiet, it's calm, and it's magnetic. You're warm, not in a performative way, but in a way that makes the other person feel at ease. You're open, curious, listening. You're not trying to impress, you're just present. Fully there, engaged in the moment. That's rare, and that's where the spark is. You're confident, not the kind of confidence that needs a spotlight or a punchline, but the kind that shows in how you sit with silence, how you ask a thoughtful question, how you speak about your passions without apology. Confidence is knowing that your story has value, even if you're still writing it. That you don't have to shrink to be likable, and you don't have to exaggerate to be lovable. You just have to be. You're interested, not just in him, but in the world. In ideas, in growth, in laughter, in life. You bring curiosity to the table, and that curiosity is contagious. You make the conversation feel like discovery, not a test. That's what draws someone in, not just feeling admired, but feeling seen. And most of all, you're interesting, because you've lived, and you've learned, and you're still evolving. You have stories that shaped you, dreams you're chasing, flaws you've learned to embrace. You don't hide your layers, you bring them with you. Not to be understood all at once, but to be unfolded over time. You don't need to force chemistry. You don't need to overthink your every word. You don't need to perform femininity or charm or humor. When you drop the act, when you stop striving to be someone else's version of desirable, something incredible happens. You become undeniably you. And that is the most irresistible thing of all. Because confidence isn't loud, it's grounded. Warmth isn't scripted, it's felt. Mystery isn't manufactured, it's created by owning your pace, your silence, your story. Real connection doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being present. From knowing that you have nothing to prove, only something to share. So when you walk into that room, that restaurant, that quiet corner booth with flickering candlelight, don't chase impact. Embody it. Let your energy arrive before your voice does. Let your presence say what your words haven't yet. And trust, the right man won't know what hit him. Because when a woman walks in knowing who she is, he'll feel it in his chest before he even knows her name. If this resonated with you, tap that like button, subscribe for more real talk advice, and don't forget to check the description for more videos and goodies you'll love. And hey, have you tried any of these? Let's talk about it in the comments.